On Friday, Alabama State Board of Trustees fired President Gwendolyn Boyd. Folks, she had only been the president for just 2 years. They said they lost confidence in her. The board voted 8-6 to terminate her contract. They actually gave her a new three-year contract last year. They say she failed to maintain the confidence of the board. The board's issue with Boyd, who was hired in December 2013, ranged from signed contracts with comedian Steve Harvey to help brand the school to a high school basketball tournament being moved away from ASU, among other differences. Before the vote, Boyd addressed the board and 5 witnesses spoke on her behalf, but it was not enough. Later on, she reacted to their decision.
So you had to try to figure out what the question was in order to respond to it. And so without that as a hard factor in trying to respond to a question, it was just very, very difficult. As we were trying to grow out of the revolving door and all of the issues that continue to surround it, I thought we were moving in that direction. But I really do feel for the students. I feel that they deserve a greater chance, and I hope they will. I hope they will, and I wish the students and the university all the best.
Boyd's attorneys say ASU's actions have opened the door for another lawsuit, but Boyd could not comment on any legal action. Boyd is back in Maryland. She was here this weekend, where she spent 33 years working at Johns Hopkins University as an engineer. A special committee has now been formed to begin a nationwide search for the school's next president. Folks, the day after Trump's inauguration, hundreds of thousands of women will gather in Washington, D.C. For a march speaking to issues that they say is important, but also to send a signal to the incoming president that he will have to address their issues as well. One of the organizers who is making this happen is Janae Ingram. She's been on our panel, and of course, she can give us more of the details. So, Janae, let's talk about this particular march because you've had a lot of back and forth, lots of drama. You called it March in Washington. People were getting upset because millions of women march as well. And so what is the status of the march?
So we have a location that we have announced. We've had a location for a few weeks, and people have been seeing in the media a lot of reports about us not getting a permit or, you know, certain challenges, or at least that's the way the media was putting it out. It was no challenge. Obviously, we have inauguration that's happening the day before. And so what that means is logistically, it's a little more nuanced than when you plan something with nothing else around it.
Because normally it's on the National Mall, Lincoln Memorial, right, or the Capitol, but because of the inauguration.
Well, and actually, we never intended to, none of our permits ever intended to be at the Lincoln Memorial. What happened was you had a group of women who had never organized anything send out an email to some friends saying, let's get together on the Lincoln Memorial the day after inauguration. That quickly grew.
So hold on, literally, this thing went from a get-together?
It went from a get-together
to about 300,000.
Yeah, yes, that's exactly what happened.
And that's why Hillary lost, is because white women do not know how to do anything, because the majority of them voted for Mr. Trump, and that, no, seriously. And so, you know, and now these white women, they so outraged, but they didn't talk to their sisters, and they were sleeping with their Trump-voting husbands, who were whispering in their ears. And so, I mean, I just have thrown my hands up. I've been an actress all my life.
I'm trying to work on her.
Janae, go ahead. Go ahead, Janae. Janae, go ahead.
Yes. So yes, there was an issue in the beginning. Within 48 hours, they recognized the need to bring in women of color. They brought in 3 women of color, Tamika Mallard.
Within 48 hours, Janae?
And within 48 hours.
So you mean it was never in their consciousness in the first place that women of color should be at the table? It was never in their consciousness in the first place.
Janae, let me ask you a question.
Yes, Roland.
Purpose of the march.
The purpose of the march is really to say women's rights are human rights. We have so many issues that are impacting women, whether you're a woman of color, a black woman who has to worry about her or her child or her brother, her husband going out into the street and getting shot by police. You have Muslim women who are worried about a Muslim registry and whether or not they and their families will then become a part of some list. You have Latino, specifically Mexican mothers, who are worried about them and their children being torn apart and families being torn apart. And so this isn't.
Where have these white women been with all these issues all this time?
Well, you know, let's be clear. There's still a lot of room to grow. We're not going to say that this march is the panacea for or the cure-all for, you know, the issues that have historically been here between women of color and being excluded from the feminist movement. But I will say the acknowledgement that yes, they needed to bring in women of color. We need to allow.
The fact.
At the end of the day,
Gotcha.
They acknowledge.
Jason.
Janae,
Yes.
so do you guys have, or when will you be able to announce, say, maybe what your speakers list is, or who's actually going to be there to sort of rally the crowd? Do you have that organized yet, or is that forthcoming?
That is in the process of being organized, and it's a very valid question. That's in the process of being organized. We're dealing with all of the logistics at this point, ensuring that people have places to park buses. We know where the porta-johns will be. Obviously, that's very important. When you're asking people,
I have a month without bathrooms.
Right.
I don't care what you say.
Absolutely.
Are these Democratic women or Republican women or both who are not just organizing, but who you expect in the mall the day after inauguration?
Final comment.
I think it will be Democratic women. I think you'll get some Republican women, women who did not support Trump, and women who are concerned about the various issues that are impacting women and women's rights.
Well, bottom line is here.
We gonna get you there.
No, I say whatever you want to. Bottom line is afternoon on January 20th. A lot of people are saying it's going to be 4 years of absolute resistance, but you have to mobilize and organize. Being mad and ticked off is one thing. Being mobilized and organized is another. All right, folks, thank you so very much. Still